And Eric, a lot of people approach retirement the same way. They have tools like their 401ks and their IRAs, but no actual strategy to build that confident future. So help us understand this analogy, okay? What's the fundamental difference between having that portfolio of your financial products and actually having a true retirement plan, which is what you always talk about?
Yeah, no, the personalized income plan, or what we actually call a blueprint to worry less wealth. So that is obviously a critical thing because you've got all these different buckets, if you want to call it that. You got the IRA, 401ks, you got savings accounts and individual investment accounts, all these things. And where do you grab the money from first? Where do you take this money from, and so forth? And so there's a lot of confusion. um, the craziest one, just really, just from a human perspective, is how scary it is for people just to withdraw money from their accounts. I mean, it's just 30, 40 years of saying, don't touch that money, don't touch that money. And now all of a sudden you're touching the money. It's like, what? Hold it. No, no. I mean, and I literally have people like, I mean, they don't go into convulsions. I haven't seen that one yet, but but they really just have a lot of issues with it, and it's funny because I've warned people about that, and I've even had
Mhm.
one guy who retired from PG&E, and he came back to me after a couple months, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, it was so stressful getting that money. I seen that money come out, and so that's why you did
Yes.
it though, right? That's why it's there.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
but are you doing it the right way with tax wise? Are you doing it the right way to make sure it lasts? Are you, doing the right things to lower your lifetime taxes? All those types of questions, make it even more complex and more confusing because of, first of all, you're just trying to figure out how to get a paycheck. And now, now you have to figure out all this tax stuff too. And so, yeah,
Right.
it does get complex.
Right. Yeah, without a blueprint to worry less wealth, you're just guessing. And that's why we urge everybody to give you guys a call because you have a plan that puts it all together and will help answer all these questions that you were saying. Where do I take my money out first? How do I, help myself and not too many taxes and all that? So, the tools that we use during our working years, like you said, are just a shovel. We're just shoveling that money into saving, but not the same tools we need for retirement.
No, I mean, there's, the good old phrase of, just hang in there, right? Just don't sell, just don't sell. Yeah, that works for when you're working, but once you retire, you need that money. You need that money every month. You can't just unretire, and especially in Silicon Valley, if you around here, you're younger, meaning less than 60. You might be able to get a job, but even 50-year-olds have a hard time. So, yeah, it'd be very tough in your 70s to go out and get a job because the markets are down. So you're gonna need to be withdrawing that money for one thing, and that makes the dynamics very, very different. And then, of course, once you hit age 73 or 75, and that required minimum distribution, you're required by law to take the money out. And so, yeah, if the markets are down when you're having to take that money out, you're locking those losses in. And that's very different from when you're working because, when you were funding money, if markets went down, you actually bought more shares. So it was actually a good deal in a way. And so, here's the exact opposite. So, yeah, you need to have a plan that protects you from those downturns, that makes it smoother, makes I'm going to pay the least amount of tax as much as I can, over my lifetime, not just 1 year. And so that all needs to have a plan for sure.
Let's look at the construction process. Okay. You're the builder. Okay. Um, Talk about how this is what you do. You help clients organize all their assets so that they're not using a hammer when they actually need a saw and you show them the difference.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, there's lots of strategies that can work, a lot of things that can work short term, but what works long term? Lots of times traditional advice says, keep deferring your money. And then all of a sudden you go from the 12% bracket to the 24% bracket. Well, you've just now doubled your tax. That's not smart. And so, so yeah, you have the only way you can kind of see and visually see all this stuff is just like a blueprint, is looking at an income plan. And then sometimes people say, well, should I turn my social security on now or later? Well, let's look at the blueprint. Which one gives you more net worth at age 80 or 90? That's the correct answer. I don't care which way you want to go. It's just this is the one that mathematically and tax wise works the best. So whichever one that is, then that's the right tool for the job. So, but without that clarity and without that way to test it, then yeah, you don't know which one's going to work. And then you're kind of going back to what you started with, right? Where you said, here, build something, build a house for this person, even though you have no blueprint. And it's like, okay, but it probably won't look like the person may have wanted. And so, so that would not be good. So, again, that's why we've built that digital toolbox for people to, just go in there and get some education, be able to read about, will my money last as long as I do? Am I paying too much money in tax and in retirement? And copy my book, Worry Less Wealth, and, way to set up a time to talk with us on the phone, here at Heckman Financial. So all you got to do, super simple, just text word toolbox 800-454-1184. Again, toolbox 800-454-1184, or click the link below.
All right. We thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Luann Fulmer, and this is Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. So, yeah, it seems clear creating that comprehensive retirement income strategy is going to require a special set of tools and knowledge. So, how do you help someone determine if their current retirement plan is optimized for all these new challenges they're going to face in retirement?
Yeah, well, one problem is it's kind of like an adult going to a pediatrician. You could do it, but it looks weird. You're the tallest one in the room, and
Yeah.
you might not even be able to sit on the tables because they're smaller and all that stuff,
Right.
right? But I guess you could do it. But I find a lot of people, the advisors they're using right now, are really just investment managers. They're not looking every year at their tax return and giving them advice on how to pay less in taxes. They're a lot of times they can't even give you any tax advice. So that's really scary. And then lots of times they have no protection for downturns. They're just like, okay, well, you'll lose less on some assets. Well, losing less is not that's not a strategy, right? You would not
No.
keep a head coach, employed if they lose less. Yeah, only if they're winning a lot, not losing less. That's not. Well, they only lose 2/3 of the games, not 80%. Well,
Yeah,
no,
not as
that's not
bad.
good, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of times people are just set up with the wrong type of person, and they need to have better advice, somebody who specializes in that shift from working life to retirement, because again, all the numbers are switched. Everything now matters because of you're taking the money out, you're doing withdrawals. Now taxes are the number one thing to be paying attention to, and that taxes are the number one thing that retirees pay in retirement. It's the number one expense, even more than healthcare. So, if you're not focused on that, then how are you really helping people?
So yeah, there's a lot going on right now in our world. We've got the new tax bill, a lot going on with market volatility, even inflation. Someone listening might be going, how can I tell if I do have the right advisor for me? Is there an easy way to figure this out? Maybe getting a second opinion?
Yeah, I mean, getting a second opinion is great. I mean, one thing is, are they asking you for your tax return every year? That's one clue that they're not giving you or are giving you tax help. If they're not asking for the tax return, pretty clear. They don't give you tax advice. Do you have some of that money protected from loss where you cannot go down a good 20, 30%? If that's not the case, then yeah, I would say get a second opinion. And that's one of the things that we can do here at Heckman Financial is we can, just show you the path that you're on. So we have a first meeting called Worry Less Wealth Visit, where we just ask you what's concerns, questions you have. And then if it makes sense for us to go that second one, we'll actually do the analysis. We'll show you the income plan you're on. And if you've got, a road closure up ahead, or you got somebody about to hit you from the side or something, we'll tell you what's going on the path that you're on. So, again, if you want to get access to that, all you have to do is text word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text word toolbox 800-454-1184, or click the link below.
All right, stay with us. We'll be right back with more from Eric.